It's really up to you. Just have to make up your own damn mind to either accept what I'm going to tell you or reject it.
This is a pivotal moment in American history, and what happens now will determine the lives of our kids and future generations.
What specifically concerns you?
I'll tell you what concerns me.
Palantir, why? Well, we have this technology called Gotham and Foundry. One of them knows how to judge people's behavior, similar to Minority Report. Yeah, and the timing of it when it came out is right after what some of the people were trying to do with the government, DARPA, in 2003, that they closed and they said, no, we're not doing this program. A month later, Palantir started with Alex Karp and Peter Thiel.
When PayPal was sold, Thiel had millions of dollars burning a hole in his pocket and an idea. PayPal had developed systems for detecting fraud and crimes on the platform. What if they could use similar thinking to analyze the world at large? So Thiel pulled from his network to build out a new company and become the ultimate military contractor and the ultimate arbiter of all of our data. One of the first hires was Thiel's Stanford Law School roommate, Alex Karp, who'd gone on after Stanford to get a PhD in not business or computer science or engineering, but neoclassical social theory. They named the company Palantir, after the Palantiri from J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
We have the mechanisms that would make world government. A gigantic global surveillance state is plausible.
That seems plausible too. And then I think, again, to come back to the Soloviev-Benson plot hole, on its own, they both seem not that desirable. Why would we have a crazy surveillance state? Why would we, why would we do this? But if you're scared enough of these things, that's the weapon.
We haven't really heard exactly if there is some kind of master plan and how that could be regulated and what oversight would look like in this case.
And this is sort of where my speculative thesis is that if the Antichrist were to come to power, it would be by talking about Armageddon all the time. And
Peter Thiel, the Antichrist would talk about Armageddon all the time. He'd scare people and then offer to save them.
And for those people who are not familiar with Peter Thiel and his Palantir technologies, could you talk a little bit about his history and viewpoints? I mean, there was one article that said that he's a big believer in Armageddon, and he has insisted that the enemies of the West will prevail unless software developers work more closely with the American government to produce AI-powered military capabilities.
I don't think in win-lose, I think in domination. This is a company built for bad times. Bad times mean strong finances internally. Bad times are very good for Palantir because we build products that are robust, that are built for danger.
Let's rewind a little.
In Lord of the Rings, a Palantir stone is a magical object that allows its users to predict the future or to see what's going on in a remote location.
It was originally created by the elves. It was meant to be used for good purposes. It is potentially a very dangerous technology. It's very powerful.
Long have you hunted me?
The meaning of Palantir is seeing stones. It's this stone that tells you what everybody in the world is doing today. And they named the company Palantir. So they're not even beating around the bush. We gotta build Palantir to see what you're doing today. In the hands of a good person could do good. If the wizard's a good wizard, hey, I can do good with this. Well, what typically ends up happening? Ends up being maybe a wizard that was a good guy. So a wizard like Saruman, who at one point was a good guy, then becomes a bad guy, right? So you have access to this power. Like, man, I can control the world. Man, I can make sure nothing happens with this. In a movie, Book of Eli, one guy, Denzel Washington, looks at the Bible. Man, I can set people free. Another guy looks at the Bible. It's like, I need this Bible because with this, I can control people. Same book, two different people, two different purpose. So some could say, what's wrong with you? Palantir can help find the bad guys and all this other stuff. In the hands of who?
Amazon, Microsoft, and Google were deeply complicit with, and Palantir, Israel before October 7. There's been a million times increase. Essentially what happened was after October 7, Israel made the decision, which many of us feared they would do after the Hamas attack, of going big, going large, essentially destroying as much as they could as quickly as possible. There wasn't really a great desire for pinpoint targeting, going after so-called Hamas targets. It was mass destruction. That was the point. And they didn't have enough cloud space. I mean, literally, they wanted to gather so much data, so much information. The cloud space they had, which often had been provided by these Silicon Valley titans, they needed more of it. And all these companies were very happy to provide this. We have evidence for this. There's documents of this. We don't have all the details of this, but a lot of the AI so-called targeting that killed, particularly in the first months of the war after October 7, tens and tens of thousands of Palestinians, still continues to this day, of course, but the mass killing was far greater then, was assisted by these big tech companies. A lot of it was either Microsoft, for example, is deeply embedded with the IDF, again, has been for years, but increased after October 7. The cloud space is part of it, but there's also various tools that the IDF has been using, provided by these firms, to assist in their, I would call, war of annihilation or genocide, whatever term we want to use for it. There is deep legal culpability, not just with the IDF, of course, but with these companies. Deep culpability. I don't think we are far away in the years ahead from executives and CEOs from some of these companies potentially facing serious allegations and charges in international courts for assisting genocide.
You're getting wealthy off of killing Palestinians with Palantir kills Palestinians with their AI and technology.
Oh.
You're killing my family in Palestine.
Yeah. And, you know... Well, if you, do you want to hear my answer? So the primary source of death in Palestine is the fact that Hamas has realized that there are millions and millions of useful idiots that will...
Using that excuse. This is why you don't get a platform. How dare you, your AI and your technology from Palantir kill Palestinians?
Mostly terrorists, that's true.
No, it's not. If you say mostly, so it's okay to kill
Okay.
innocent others.
Look, if your argument was so strong, wouldn't you let me talk?
And we cannot just speak loudly in private. And one of the key issues that you find, including here, is, you know, people want to talk about rebuilding trust, the elite. No one trusts the elite. Yes, but how could you trust the elite if everything you're saying is a half-truth at best?
I want to maybe share 2 or 3 of these contrarian truths that I believe that people generally don't understand. But my book 0 to 1 is a whole set of these things that I believe to be true that most people do not agree with me on. First big truth that comes right out of this idea of unique businesses. I think that if you're a founder or entrepreneur, what you want to aim for is monopoly. Always a political intuition I have on this too, which is that perhaps if you have ideas that are taboo, that you're not allowed to discuss, my shortcut is to suspect they're simply correct. And then there was broadly this question, was there some way to reset all these things in the government? And it was a black box. And, we did not know whether places like the CIA and NSA and places like that had some super duper computer working in the background that was catching all the terrorists. We sort of suspected they didn't, and then it took a while to figure that out. But I think our suspicions were probably correct.
Yeah, we saw them doing a lot of things that made us suspect that they're actually gotten way behind Silicon Valley.
And so, in that context, you'd think, okay, there's some very big problem that can be solved. It in some ways it turned out to be more difficult than one would have thought. There obviously are all these sectors we have that are very, very broken, where education, healthcare, all these sort of deeply broken sectors where the solution, there's some obvious solutions, and the fact they have not been implemented.
CARP claims Palantir was built to balance national security and civil liberties. Critics, ACLU's Ben Witzner, views Palantir as enabling mass surveillance of citizens, ICE backlash versus military dependence. CARP says abandoning ICE would break trust with military partners. So again, good, bad, criticism. We got a lot more we can talk about, but this is what they have right now. 2 countries they don't do business with, China and Russia, thank God. As of right now, they don't do business with 2 countries.
We are at the point where you have to stand up.
Palantir is involved in Israel's genocide in Gaza, amongst many other places. So there's been almost when I say a moment of clarity, a lot of these Silicon Valley leaders, who I would argue have always been pretty repressive and authoritarian, the shackles are off. And you see, therefore, there's finally a growing alliance and investment in Israeli defense tech and Israeli surveillance tech.
Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them.
Powered by artificial intelligence. They've been hired by the Department of Defense, the FBI, local police departments, and even the IRS and Wendy's to take in the information those organizations collect even more information, and use that data to draw conclusions.
The war we're seeing right now is only going to kind of accelerate this move toward lethal autonomous weapons on the battlefield.
But are we ready for killer robots? And what would be the true cost of taking human hands off the trigger?
Palantir shares surging 22% after the company cited a boom in demand for its AI software from the U.S. government.
We're doing it. We're doing it. And I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am.
You're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
Fundamentally, the mission that is pushed to employees is that we're solving the world's hardest problems and supporting Western institutions. That is the main driver of sort of this militaristic culture that is developed inside of Palantir.
If you do not feel comfortable supporting the legitimate efforts of America and its allies in the context of war, don't join Palantir.
This entire message of like, we are the most lethal, we are the most able to surveil and process large amounts of data.
You have created the system which you call kill chain.
Privately. Publicly, the lawyers have some innocuous something like tech for the amelioration of unwanted blah, blah, blah. Some term we're supposed to use.
Okay, let's...
for me, it's the kill chain.
Kill chain sounds good.
Palantir gets attacked just because we help make this country even better, because we support the values, because we defend it. And, us being able to win while having an opinion does have an impact on the world, if only because the people who think we are wrong or not good have to be a little jealous and suffer. And you know what? That's a good thing, too.
We can't replace our current broken system with an even more broken one.
I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
So we have, a sort of crisis of legitimacy. Who do we believe in the United States, in the Western world? Do we believe the scientists, the experts, the deep state actors? And I think there's an openness to rethinking these things that has not existed in a very long time.
Is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted.
And you're supposed to be skeptical of that because that's what Satan says.
Warrior, build me an army worthy of Mordor.
it's the biggest mistake people make is never making mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, and if you, and so I don't know. I've probably made a lot of mistakes. There are a lot of things I've gotten wrong conceptually. You know, there are ideas I have that they're not always correct. They're, you know, and you know, there are all sorts of things where you, you know, I'd say I don't know. I think this is a little bit too abstract, but probably the big mistake I feel that I've not made is living a life of making no mistakes ever.
Yes. That reminds me of my favorite quote, which was Wayne Gretzky, the Canadian ice hockey genius, who said, "You'll miss 100% of the shots you never take."
Yes.
That's really what you're getting at, right?
Yes, and it's, yes, something like that.
Palantir got a $795 million contract with the U.S. Army for the Maven Smart System, which is using artificial intelligence tools for data fusion and target identification. And then a $30 million contract from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement to develop an operating system that identifies undocumented immigrants and tracks self-deportations. So one of the things that's going on is that it feels like to me that they are asking they've granted Palantir the opportunity to create this overall database.
And his mentee, JD Vance.
Crazy, dude. Like, this sounds like we're only going to be human for like 2 more years, right? So and this is the Palantir company where they're going to build security databases that have all of our information in them, right? That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying, yeah.
And it's going to have like everything. It'll like look at you and know like if you're good at tennis, or if you've ever, you know, if you have $60 in your pocket, or if you're, you know, it can tell if your kids are, you know, if your kids can have a limp or whatever, if he'll be in the Christmas play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It can tell all of that. And that feels real scary, man. Like
I get it.
To a regular guy on the street,
yeah.
that feels like we're going to give our society like we're going to become these, like they're going to have know everything about us. It makes you feel like you won't be a person anymore.
I hear you.
Does that make sense to you?
No, it definitely makes sense to me. I mean, let me try to explain. So to be clear, I'm not an expert on this particular deal. I actually just read about it earlier today, or maybe yesterday. But the president did an executive order, I don't know, a couple months ago. And the basic idea is you've got all this different information, but it's not accessible in one place. So like, let me give you an example where this might be useful.
Okay.
Let's say you catch an illegal immigrant.
He's got a particular view. I mean, Peter Thiel founded Palantir. Peter Thiel also, I mean, it's public record, put $15 million into his campaign.
Into campaign. Yeah, we talked about that.
To make him a senator. So I'm not questioning him. I'm just saying he's got a view of a relationship with Palantir. And
Peter Thiel is his big backer.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, if people don't know who that is, he started PayPal. Yeah. He's gay. He's a billionaire. I mean, I've had a couple of people who knew you were coming on this week said, ask Pete what he thinks about Peter Thiel being so in love with J.D. Vance, who is flatly against gay marriage.
So I think it's a profound contradiction, but maybe it's not that complicated. I know there are a lot of folks who say, what's going on with some of these Silicon Valley folks veering into Trump world with J.D. Vance and backing Trump? What are they thinking? Silicon Valley is supposed to be, you know, they're supposed to care about climate. They're supposed to be, you know, I don't know, pro-science and rational and libertarians. So normally libertarians don't like authoritarians. What's up with that? I think it's actually, we've made it way too complicated. It's super simple. These are very rich men who have decided to back the Republican Party that tends to do good things for very rich men.
Couldn't agree more.
And by the way, that's kind of what you're getting with. That's kind of what you're getting with JD, right?
Now, one of Vance's favorite philosophers, Curtis Yarvin, aka Mencius Moldbug, has won over Silicon Valley with his argument for a form of corporate monarchism, in which the government is abolished and reborn as a corporation run by a CEO king.
Another word for monarch in the 20th century context is obviously a despot or a dictator.
Or, yes. Or a CEO.
While at an intellectual level, it's truly some of the dumbest nonsense I've ever read, these ideas are already influencing people like Thiel and Vance, who publicly support them. A dude who believes this stuff could be one clogged artery away from becoming the most powerful person in the world. Oh boy.
We've got to figure out what are the objective facts. I mean, the Palantir was founded by Peter Thiel. and it was founded by CIA's In-Q-Tel, right? This is what funds it.
CIA's, what do you mean?
The CIA has a venture capital firm called In-Q-Tel.
In-Q-Tel.
They gave the money initially for Palantir.
They're going to know everything. To me, it feels like that they'll just have this, like all of your information, your bank card, your blood type. They'll know if you prayed this morning. They'll know just by like biometrics or whatever. If you've hit your knees, they'll know if you're feeling hopeful. They'll know all of these things, right?
You know, I'm always so bad at the sort of how to help advice. My oldest, will be 81 years old in the year 2100, and man, it's. I wasn't sure that the world was going to last till 2030.
Right.
Before I had her, and I'm still not sure, but we're going to have to somehow figure out a way to make it through the 21st century.